What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to Tampa Talk Tuesday. We're excited to have you here. And we are going to get in the nitty-gritty of real estate numbers here in Tampa and nationally, actually. I'm going to break the vault open, so to speak. And I got to I won't say forewarn, but I need to prepare you for what is about to occur. The ladies are with us tonight. And what I mean by that is this is my zone. I love living in the numbers because they help share perspective. And they help me make data-driven decisions, which I am really a fan of, because as a human being, I am prone to make emotional decisions. That's what we do. Right. I'm no different than anyone else. So I need some sort of guardrail in place to keep me from making those emotional snap decisions that may put me or my family in harm's way. So what I share with you this evening, I'm hoping it can help you into the future. Okay. Whether you're considering making a move here to the greater Tampa Bay area or anywhere else in the country right now, there is so much uncertainty. There is so much, literally there is fear right now because of what's going on. In our marketplace. So I just really want to take some time to break these numbers down tonight. I'm going to show you some charts. There may be some overwhelm, but here's what I want you to understand. I'm going to share all of my resources with you. Everything I have in front of you today is public except for one thing. Okay. That is our MLS access. And you can see it in different ways, but you just can't have the same access that I have. Everything else that I'm going to share with you this evening is public information, and I will link it in the description of our YouTube channel when this live wraps up. Okay, so once this is up and running, you'll be able to see it there. And for those of you that don't know me, my name is Juan Alcala. I'm a licensed real estate agent and a team leader here with the True Living Group. And me, alongside of Marsha Railton that you got joined with you tonight, and Stacey Amon, we help people buy, sell, relocate, and invest here in the greater Tampa Bay area. So welcome to the live. Okay. We would love to know where you're watching from. We try to keep this as engaging as possible and interactive as possible. So while I will be sharing a lot of things from a screen tonight, I want you to know that you are welcome to the conversation. Both Stacey and Marsha and myself will be monitoring that conversation. I will try to get to questions answered. And if you're watching this at a later time, don't hesitate to make a comment in the chat. I will try to, again, follow up and answer those. I don't have my assistant answering those. That is me or the ladies, y'all. So just know that that's what's going on here. I'm excited to share this stuff. I know it can be overwhelming. But with that, I do want to take a moment to recognize these wonderful human beings who prepare so with such vigor every single week to bring you, quality information that you can use in and around town here in the greater Tampa Bay area. And of course, Bradenton and Sarasota. I consider that Tampa Bay, but everybody's got a different ring around it. But we want to welcome you in, and I want to introduce you to these lovely co-hosts that are with me this evening. I have Miss Marsha Railton out of Bradenton, Florida. Good evening, Marsha.
Good evening. Hello, everyone. It's a little cool here today, cooler than the Floridians are used to. So that's why I have a vest on and long sleeves. I think the high was 70, so it's a cold one.
Got my lightweight sweater on today. I was real excited to pull it out. And my jeans.
It feels
good. They went into pumpkin spice mode today, y'all. Just so everybody people busted out their jackets, and this is what we would consider winter, just so everybody's aware. Today was winter in Florida, even though it's the fall. So it's been a very interesting time. We woke up this morning, it was like 58 degrees. It was unbelievable. I wanted to put on a sweater. I did put on long pants and a hoodie to go on a walk today. It was amazing. It was amazing. So with that, I also want to welcome our other co-host up in Pasco County, Miss Stacey Amon. Good evening, Stacey.
Good evening, everyone. It was a little cooler up here. It was 48 degrees when I woke up this morning.
That's cold. That is cold. For Florida, there might as well be snow on the ground. It's treated the same, right? Like that is that's a very cool evening. So I think that's wonderful to share, right? Like we're always talking about how hot it is. It's hot all the time. There's no doubt about that. But to have a cooler day, we welcome it, of course, but it doesn't need to stay. It can come kind of visit and go do its thing and then go about its way. Definitely appreciate that. All right. So we're going to take a little bit of a turn how we normally do this. We normally have Marsha or Stacy lead. So if that's what you're expecting tonight, we will get back to our regular scheduled programming over the next few weeks where the ladies will take that off. But tonight I am going to take the lead here and get into numbers. So get ready, get your pens out, get your thinking caps on, whatever you got to do. We're going to break down, again, numbers here in Tampa Bay for sure, but we're also going to talk a lot nationally. We're going to talk about mortgages. We're going to talk about all the things that you're trying to put these puzzle pieces together to make decisions about. Maybe it's an investment for you. Maybe it's a second home. Maybe it's your primary home. Like, a lot of decisions that need to be made coming into the end of the year, and we want to help guide you to the information that can help you make an informed, data-driven decision. So that's what tonight is going to be all about. So welcome to the Tampa Real Estate Market Update and our National Housing Update as well. So we're going to get into that. Again, we'd love to know where you're watching from, where you guys are at. We want to definitely get into the conversation. Somebody who I don't have a name for here says that they are stoked about this. All right. And your name's not showing up, so we're excited that you're stoked. So thank you very much. Appreciate that. Missy Walden. Missy's our peeps for sure. Out of Fredericksburg, Virginia. Shout out to VA. Welcome. We're happy to have you. And then we got Derek Weaver. Go Lions. Big win over the weekend. Yes, they are having a good season. And Derek, you got to forgive me, man. I don't trust the Lions as far as I can throw them. So until they win playoff games, congratulations. You're having a fun time. I'm 46 years old. I have been deceived before. I'm all set with that. I'm not going to let that woman do that to me ever again. Not that you ladies aren't perfect, but I'm just letting you know the Lions ain't going to do that to me. We don't have that relationship anymore. Right? It is set sail. All right. We have Melissa Parrish. Good evening, Melissa. We're so happy to have you. Hey, y'all finally get to tune in and love living in Florida. We're happy to have you. And Melissa made the move. Marcia helped her and her family buy a wonderful home down in Parrish. So we're excited to have y'all. And let us know how the church home's going. I know you guys had a church home picked out already. I would love to get an update on that because lots of people always ask the same question. So if you don't mind sharing that with us, it'd be great.
They're up in Clearwater. I think you think they're
in that's
Paris,
right.
Their last name.
That's right. Yep. My confusion. Yeah. So Melissa has attended our church, so forgive me on that one, but she's already come to Mission City with us. So thank you very much, Melissa. And I'm glad to hear that you guys are settled in. And hopefully Jason is doing great at the new job too. So that's fantastic. Got to thank you guys. Appreciate that. And then Stuart Wallace, Stone Mountain, Virginia, Georgia moving to Tampa soon. My man, glad to hear it. Glad to hear it. And Melissa said, haha, all the plumbing. Yeah. Melissa had some plumbing issues at her new home.
We still talk about it.
Oh, my word. Well, we're grateful that you're settling in, and hopefully the Lord continues to bless the rest of that situation. So we'll be great. All right, y'all. So let's get into this. I know this is a deviation. Normally we get on here and talk about all the fun things. We will. I'm telling you, I've got great content scheduled for you guys. I'm going to be sharing some really cool stuff about restaurants and local events that are happening coming up on the live and on the channel. The ladies have some great stuff prepared for you too, but I do want to get into some of these numbers. Okay, so bear with me. We're talking Tampa real estate. We're talking national real estate. We're talking economy. We're talking mortgages. We're talking all kinds of stuff. Let's just jam into this right now, so that way we can keep this bad boy moving. All right. So the first thing that I'm going to share with everyone tonight is I'm going to share with you the market statistics that come from the greater Tampa Bay area of realtors. Now, you actually have access to this in the public. You can just go to their website and you'll see it. This is public data. All right. So they're not trying to keep this from you either. At the bottom of the screen where that little red bar is going over there. I know this is kind of hard to see. I've tried to make it bigger for y'all to see it, but I'm gonna read it to you as well. It says pending inventory and inventory of active listings. That's what's at the bottom there. All right, just so everybody can see this. But I highlighted a few areas on purpose because that's where we want to start this conversation tonight. All right, so this is Tampa, Clearwater, St. Pete, but what this really is 4 counties. All right, this is Hernando County. If you can look at the top left here, that's Hernando County, Pasco County, where Stacy is, Hillsborough County, which is where Tampa proper is, and then Pinellas County, which is Clearwater, St. Pete. So I want everybody to kind of wrap their mind around this because this makes up essentially the greater Tampa Bay. We also have Bradenton, Sarasota, but we'll get into that different conversation, okay, because they act a little bit different. Now, Looking at this chart, I want to start at the top, work our way down, and kind of talk through what's happening here. Now, what you're going to first thing you're going to notice is the data here is from August of 23. And the reason that you do not have September's numbers in front of you, even though we're in October, is because those numbers get released almost a month later every single time. So we don't have them yet. And the reason being is because they want everything to settle, all the deeds to be recorded, so they can officially bring those numbers to the table. Because if a deed hasn't been recorded, even though a sale may have been recorded, technically ownership hasn't been transferred. So we've got this little bit of a challenge we have to work through. So I'm just kind of sharing this. It's not up to me. That's the way it works. But I'm going to share some more recent data as we get along with this. Okay. And by the end, I'm going to show you the last 30 days. So you guys will be as dialed in as I am. And we are. All right. So closed sales. Here's what I want you to notice. All right. Closed sales were down 9.1% in the greater Tampa Bay area. They went from 3,900 closed sales to 3,550 roughly. All right. Paid cash, you can look at that under, that's down 20%. That's not abnormal when you have a down cycle. But here's the other thing I want you to look at: the median sales price and the average sales price. We always get into this weird zone. People are like, what's the difference between the median and what's the difference between the average? Well, here's the way to think about it. The median is where the middle of the most activity is taking place. So if you have more sales taking place on the lower end, it'll drag the number down. If you have more sales taking place at the higher end of a price point, it'll lift the number up. Where we like to focus, and this is I think the most accurate place as a real estate professional to operate, and for you as a potential home buyer to wrap your mind around, is the average. Okay. Now the average, high, low, middle. They throw out the top and the bottom and kind of work through it. But for us, we're in the marketplace every day helping clients sell and buy real estate. And what we see on average is very similar to that $524,000 number that you see there. We have clients buy at $385,000 and we have clients buy at $1.3 million. All right. This is the gaps in between is kind of where they fall. But on average, a 3 or 4 bedroom, 2 bath, 1,800 to 2,400 square foot home in the greater Tampa Bay and Sarasota areas, you should expect to pay somewhere about $5.25. You can get it for less, no doubt about it. Depends on the neighborhood and the area, but you can also spend a lot more. All right, you can see on the numbers later, there was a home that sold for $7.5 million in the last 30 days. So like that takes place. So keep that in perspective. Now, as we come down this chart, I want you to focus on the next red rectangle, the one at the bottom. That is new pending sales, meaning they've taken place in the last 30 days, and new listings. And the new pending sales is down 21.3%, which is a huge decrease. August of 2022, there were 4,100 sales. And August of 2023, there were only 3,200 pending sales. Okay, that's not sold, it's pending. And the new listings, this is why I want to focus here. Last time this year, even though we were already down from historical averages. So if you go back to 2018, 19, 17, the average number of sales, we were already well below that. We're now another 17.6% down from last year's August. So this is why we're having these challenges. Now you hear this, you're like, well, okay, why are we down so far on new listings and why is that important? Well, if sellers aren't bringing their home to the market and you've got more buying activity than you have selling, that puts upward pressure on pricing, even with these insane interest rates. Well, and I'm going to put that in historical context as well. But from the last 3 years perspective, a 7.92%, which is where mortgage rates ended today, right? Versus the 2.75 that people had is a shock to the system. But normally you would say, well, with these raising interest rates, why aren't prices going down? Well, that's happening. That's not happening because sellers are not bringing the properties to the market. Okay. Now, the next natural question that you and I should have is why? Why are we not seeing properties come to the market, Juan? Right? That's a great question. I'm glad you asked. It's a great question. I'm glad you asked. So we're going to get into that. I'm going to share this tab here. Okay. So I know this is very hard to see. I did my best to try to make it meaningful, and maybe I can expand it a little bit. That's what I'll do. I'll expand this in a second here. This is the average, the active, meaning that like it's an active mortgage. People are paying on this bad boy. Active mortgage rates by, active mortgages by interest rate and vintage. I don't know what favorite, what's your favorite vintage on your favorite wine? I don't know. But I'll tell you right now, people's favorite vintage here is going to be 2020. This is like, and we're just going to share this with you, right? So like, let me zoom out. I'm going to kill this box here. And I'm actually going to make this larger so y'all can see this. I know it's going to kind of come off the rails here, but here's what I want you to take note of. All right. You can see the years, right? Pre-2010, it's gray. It gets a little bit darker gray. And then you come down here. This is the gold color is 2023. I have a mortgage in the gold color because I just bought my house last month. Okay. And then vintage 22, 21. So the light green and the green is what I want you to focus on. Now I want to come down here and show you what's happened here. Okay. So hard to even fit it on the screen. Look at the amount of mortgages that have been sold. Remember, these are active mortgages. All active mortgages, including pre-2020. Okay, and pre-2010. That's the gray you see in here. All active mortgages. I want you to look at the amount of mortgages that are active right now that are below 4%. And wrap your mind around. You want to know why homes are not coming to the market? It's because people have interest rates 4% or below. And I'm going to take one step back on this screen here because this 2.875 number is the one that is almost 5 million mortgages strong. Okay. So going back, I want to go back real quick. When people say, Juan, why are new listings not coming to the market? You need to come back over to your chart and you take a big look at this and understand that a majority of the mortgages in the United States, okay, that are active are 4%, and most of them are well below 4%. So in order for us to have a wave of foreclosures, which I'm going to get into in a second, because there was news that foreclosures are up 125%. And while that's true, last time I checked, if you have only one thing happen and then you have 3 things happen, now you have a huge percentage increase. But that doesn't tell the whole story. The whole story is how many people actually went into foreclosure. Right? So that's the thing I want to kind of focus on here. In order for us to have a wave of foreclosures and a wave of opportunity for a quote unquote buyer who's sitting on the sideline to grab one of these foreclosures, this chart needs to be completely inverted. And it needs to be inverted. And so let me just stop there. Meaning that all those gold mortgages need to be way bigger than the green ones on this chart. And you need people to lose their job at a ridiculous clip. Those 2 things have to occur in order for us to see a wave of foreclosures, because people got incredible mortgages. 2.875 on a $500,000 house, the 525 that we're looking at today, that's less than $3,000. That same mortgage today, I'm going to run the numbers for you guys, is going to be almost $5,500 in Tampa. That I'll walk you through that. Now, don't hold me that. It's close. I'll run the numbers. All right. But does everybody understand? Ladies, you tracking with me? You get where I'm going? Right. The reason we don't have inventory is because no one wants to trade a 2.875 mortgage for this bad boy right here. 7.92. I know it's small. Forgive me. This is Mortgage News Daily. They print this number every single day. At the end of the day, they show the number of what it closed out at. 7.92. Are you going to trade a 2.875 mortgage for an 8% loan? Do you know how much more you would have to, or how much less you're going to get?
I was going to say, you get less.
Right? Yeah. You know how much more you have to get for that home in order to make those numbers work. And I'm not on here gloom and doom. Listen, y'all, I sell real estate. I'm just sharing the truth. People are apprehensive. They're scared. You know who's not scared? Cash buyers. Right? They are winning in this marketplace right now because they're even though there's little inventory, homes are still sitting longer because buyers can't qualify. Right? You can't qualify. Some people cannot qualify for a 525. And here's the thing I want everybody to wrap their mind around, because people start getting into this, it's rhetoric, really. People can't afford it. No, that's not true. They can't afford the house that they want. They can still afford a mortgage. Now, the challenge is affordability almost everywhere. And we'll get into some of those details here, right? And I'm going to lead into some of this stuff, but I need to keep myself on track. So here's what we talked about so far to recap. We talked about the sales that are happening here in the greater Tampa Bay area. So I'm going to share that. So we're down 9.1% in closed sales, right? The median and the average sales price here in the greater Tampa Bay is up 7.1% year over year at the end of August. I know numbers are behind, but I want you to keep that in perspective. In a marketplace where people were telling you that the market was going to crash or that the market was down, the numbers do not lie. Up 7.1%. Tampa is going to finish this year very strong. Even if we have 3 really bad months, we're going to finish 3 or 4% year over year in an 8% interest rate environment. That is insane. That goes to show the strength of our market. So I want everybody to keep that in perspective. And new pending sales are down. And that's because we have less inventory and less people can qualify. And new listings, which is the thing we need to go up in order to drive prices down, is down double digits for almost 60 straight weeks. That is fascinating. And that's all happening because of these incredibly low interest rate mortgages that people have, right? To the tune of millions. These are active mortgages. The green numbers are almost all below. Those are years. So if we go back up to the top, that's the year. So the light green, dark green, and darker green and darkest green are all from 2021 and 2022. And the gold color that you see up there is 2023. Everything below that is previous years. So I know I'm going quick. Forgive me, y'all. If you're getting value out of this, please let us know, because I'm very apprehensive to share information like this because I think it overwhelms people. All right. So if you're getting value out of this, please comment, let us know, hit the like button for sure. That's super helpful so we can kind of get perspective. And I think this is a good place to kind of pause. Okay. Just to kind of wrap our mind around it a little bit. Let me take a break here, stop sharing real quick, and then I'm going to get back into it. Melissa Parrish says, I really miss my 3.75, but I live in paradise. Decent retrace, right? I agree, Melissa. We just bought our house at 7.15. So I know the pain that you are experiencing, and I understand, but we wouldn't trade it for the world. You should see the smile on my wife's face, knowing that she wakes up and she doesn't have to worry about that anymore. All right. So I want to affirm that your decision was the correct one, because, man, when you go to that beach on a day like today and the sun is perfect, it's just well worth it. So I appreciate that. And the trade is what she was saying there. Derek says the attention to detail is awesome. Loving the info. Thank you, Derek. I appreciate it. There'll be 3 of us who appreciate this. But yes, happy to share this with you. So we're going to keep this rolling here. Ladies, any insights or input? Again, I know I'm talking fast here, but what are you hearing from sellers and buyers in this marketplace right now, if you don't mind sharing?
Stacy and I did an open house Saturday, and like you were saying, most of the people looking like the house, but it's affordability. And they're talking about how, they've been looking in a certain price range, but now they're having to back down to a lower price range to be able to afford it. Not just because of mortgages, but the cost of everything else that they have to keep up with. So it's affecting everyone.
Yeah. And I think too, people are not wanting to put a lot of work into the house. So if they're buying it, they want it to be somewhat updated because the interest rate's so high, it's hard to afford it and then have to come up with cash to update it. Makes it really tight for everyone.
Yeah, I agree that Stacey's making a great point. So is Marcia, right? Like I was saying before, as we kind of rolled into this, it's not that people can't buy; they just are going to buy less, and they most certainly can't afford to take on any seller problems. Mm-hmm. This is the thing that has really shifted in our marketplace, right? Like when money was cheap, people were willing to take on a new roof, right? Problems associated with the property. And because there was so little inventory, and the irony is there's less inventory now than there was when people were telling you we didn't have any houses. And they weren't wrong. We didn't have any houses for the amount of buyers we had, right? But they cannot afford to take on these issues when you're paying these big numbers. Y'all, I just shared my numbers with you guys, right? Like we got our statement back today because we got our first mortgage payment. We paid it. My mortgage interest payment on our first month on our home was $3,192. That all went to the bank. Right? Yeah. Well, the good news is I'm going to have one hell of a write-off next year. Right? The bad news is I still have to pay somebody that money. Right? So I feel you. And this is the market we're living in. So just be mindful. If you're just joining us, welcome. This is Tampa Talk Live. We are talking, we're talking Tampa real estate. We're talking interest rates. We are talking what is going on nationally in the real estate market, because we want to help you make informed decisions. Our goal here is not to convince anybody. It's to help you make those data-driven decisions so you can make the best one for you, right? Because people are still selling and buying in this market. I'm Exhibit A. Right. So I wanted to share that with you. Let's get into some of these comments. I love it. Love the shares. Stuart says, good information. Appreciate that, my man. And I'm not sure if I shared this already or not. Derek Weaver says, attention to details. Awesome. Loving the info. Thank you, Derek. We appreciate that as well. We're closing at a 7.3 pretty soon. I think I'll be motivated to pay it off faster. I am on your team. But the lifestyle is worth the fee. I agree, man. Like, if this is your dream, I mean, I'm not going to let higher interest rates sit in the way of my dream. So I appreciate that. Your videos, shopping centers in Madeira Beach made me see the light. Love that. Who do we have here? Gia Malarise. Thank you for sharing this info with us. I guess I will be keeping my home a lot longer than I originally expected. You may have to, we'll get into some of those details about timelines. Again, nobody's got a crystal ball, but I think we can see some things on the tea leaves here, so to speak. Melissa says, now that I work in homeowners insurance, I've gotten customers that are really afraid to buy here due to the crazy of insurance in the state, believe it or not. No, we do believe you, Melissa, because that is one of the 3 questions we have answered endlessly on all of our calls for the last 3 years. All right. People call, they want to know about what, ladies? Hurricanes, alligators, and insurance.
Yeah.
Those are it. Those are what they want to know about. And those are good questions, y'all, right? And people are more afraid of the insurance than they are of the hurricanes and alligators, just so you know. Right?
That's so true.
No joke. That is not a lie at all. Love that. All right. What we got here? 100% of our seller is actually working with us on the repairs he has to make. Yeah, I mean, a lot of sellers are being forced in that position. You get a qualified buyer right now, you don't want to shake them off because of repairs, right? That you knew, right? Or that you weren't aware of that still need to be taken care of. So this becomes a little bit of a challenge for sure. Stuart says, in terms of needed work, does it make to cash offer to bring back the close? Hold on. In terms of needed work, does it make sense to offer cash back at closing? Got it. It can, Stuart. I prefer that method. If I have a seller who it knows they need to make a repair, my preferred method to work with the seller and the buyer is for the seller to escrow or to give credit to the buyer at closing. That way the buyer can hire their own person to do the repairs. And it does 2 things. It keeps the seller out of the transaction between the home services person and the buyer, because the last thing you want to do is end up getting sued as a seller because the person you hired to do the job did a crap job. The buyer sues both of you. So let the buyer do it. And as on the buying side, I want to hire my own contractor. I don't want the seller hiring a contractor. So for me, I think that makes sense. Great question. I love credits. That way a buyer can deploy them any way that they choose. That makes sense. So great question. I appreciate you digging that up. All right. Lots to go over here still. Thank you for these great questions, y'all. Let us know where you're watching from. If you just joined us, we are talking Tampa real estate. We're talking national real estate. We're talking the challenges we're facing. We're talking about what's going on in the marketplace so you can make an informed decision. My name is Juan Alcala. I'm joined by Stacey Amon and Miss Marsha Railton, and we are happy to have y'all. So let's jump back in here. So we've talked about the closed sales. We talked about Tampa being up 7.1% year over year at the end of August, because that's the most recent numbers we have. We talked about the cheap mortgages that people have, the absorbent amount that we actually do. But now I want to start talking about some of that negative news that you're hearing out there and start to put it in real perspective. Okay. Because if we only talk about the good stuff all day long, we ain't telling the whole truth, right? So we need to get into what is actually happening out there. And we're going to talk about local because it matters, right? It matters what is happening in our marketplace, and we'll talk about national numbers as well. So bear with us here. Excuse me if I track down. So here's what I want to start. This next chart that you're about to look at here, well, again, while it's an eyesore, I want you to understand what it is and why it's important. This, and it says it pretty clearly at the top, and this comes from Black Knight, which is a humongous data aggregator that a lot of the hedge funds and companies like BlackRock, State Street, and Vanguard, they look at their numbers too. They do a good job of this. Okay. So here's what this says: delinquency and foreclosure figures by state. So I want you to look at, maybe you're on here. I know this is probably too small for anybody to see, but you need to check this out. I want you guys to be able to wrap your mind around this. Let me see if I can get us out of the way. Ooh, that helps. All right. Now I know we're not on the screen anymore. Bear with me, but maybe you can see that better. This has it broke down per state. So the DEL stands for delinquency percentage. The FC stands for foreclosure. And then the NC stands for non-current. Okay. So just so everybody watching this knows what the heck they're looking at right now, because there's a lot going on. Look for your state. And then I want you, after that, to look at those numbers. All right. So let's look at Florida, since we're talking about our beautiful sunshine state here. We're going to get into the weeds here. So here's Florida right here. And let's see what's happening here. So our delinquency percentage is 3.2%. That's where it currently sits. That's about pretty normal for us. Okay. Let me get this out of the way. That'll give us more space there too. Our foreclosure percentage is 0.5%, which looks like it's probably right in the middle there. Yep, 4.2. It's just above the average on that chart. And then our non-current rate is 3.7%, which is 1/10 of 1 point above the average on that chart right there. All right, so just for perspective. Now, okay, so that's what's happening in Florida. You can see the national numbers here as an aggregate, right, all the way across the board. And then the other thing I want to share is let's get into the local, right? So like we're looking at what's happening nationally, but now let's check out what is happening locally. Where is my chart? Forgive me, y'all. Cool. We're going to share this one. All right. So now you're looking at what's happening here in the greater Tampa Bay area. So our 4 counties. I want you to look at this. You've got August of 23 in the column here. Clean this up. August of 23 in this column here. And then 22 is just to the right of it. So you can see what's happening there. Now, there's something to take note of here that is different than it's been before. Okay. If you look at this number, closed sales, traditional closed sales, that means a regular sale, no foreclosure, no short sale. That's a conventional sale. You went and bought a house. Everything was cool. Down 9.5%, like we said before. The median sales price, $420,000. That's up 3.9%. We talked about the average, which was up 7.1%. But closed sales in foreclosure, which is that green, row. Now, when we look at that, foreclosures went from 9 foreclosures in August of 2022 to 24 here in 2023. So that's 166% increase, right? So when you guys hear those numbers, it's up 125%. That's a big jump. Of course it is. But if you look at how low the volume is, now all of a sudden that starts to put things in perspective. Because if I take you back over to Black Knight and show you the historical chart, where we average somewhere between 180 and 230,000 foreclosures every single year. And we have been in the 40,000 number, 40 or 50,000 all through COVID, because they would not allow them to foreclose on people. And people got caught up with these forbearance programs. This is not abnormal. It is a jump. It is something we need to pay attention, and we're going to get into some numbers on that. But what I want you to keep in perspective is we're finally getting back to real life, and we're still well below historical averages. So keep that in mind. And again, I showed you the chart with crazy low mortgages. You're not going to see a wave of foreclosures until people lose their job like crazy, and the mortgage rate inverts, meaning that you have more higher rate mortgages than you have lower rate mortgages, because people will assume those mortgages. Right now, on all of our listings, buyers are starting to ask, does your seller have an assumable mortgage? Can I assume that mortgage from your seller? Because I would love to have their 2.875. Right? And if you don't know what that means, that an FHA or a VA loan is assumable, meaning that you can give your mortgage to a potential buyer as long as they can qualify. Most conventional loans are not. They are subject to, okay? I'm sorry. They have a due on sale clause, which means if you transfer that deed, the money is due. Okay, so I know I'm talking a lot of different things here, but this is, I want everybody to kind of wrap their mind around it. All right. So let's get into this mortgage monitor from Black Knight. And this is what I was talking about. That's where these charts have come from. They give us a little bit of perspective. This is the mortgage monitor from Black Knight. You can go look at this. It's public information, like I said before. As home prices set yet another record in August, pushing annual growth rates sharply higher, small but active cash out refinances, market defies traditional analysis. Excuse me. The thing to take away from that is home prices set another record in August. Now I want to get into the weeds here a little bit. According to ICE, which is formerly known as Black Knight, which is what we're looking at here, this marked the third consecutive month of home price growth re-acceleration after annual home price growth slowed to effectively flat earlier this year. December, January, and early February were all terrible in the real estate market. And the reason that happened is because last year, October 22nd or 29th of last year, mortgages hit their new high, which was like 7.25%. And people stopped buying. Same thing that's happening right now. Okay. Now, nationally, prices set forth a consecutive monthly record and are now 2.5% above the peak. 2.5%. That's nationally. Here in Tampa, we're up 4%. All right. So remember that. We're still cranking down a little bit. All right, so I wanted to share that with you as we get into the weeds here a little bit on some of these charts. And then what I wanted to talk about is what else is happening here with home affordability. Okay, because we got some serious. This is where the headwinds are a real challenge, like Marcia and Stacy were sharing with us. This article came out today in Redfin. Redfin's one of my favorite resources. You guys know, if you've been with me at all, you know I love to use that. Okay. Home buyers must earn $115,000 to afford the typical U.S. home. That's about $40,000 more than the typical American household earns. Y'all, we got some serious headwinds we got to deal with here. So we've got an abundance of very low mortgages. And I didn't even mention the fact that over 40%, I think it's 42. It's somewhere, there's a margin here. But I see, when I look at all these charts, somewhere between 39% and 42% of the households in the United States don't even have a mortgage on them. And then you have almost 5 million that have mortgages at 2.875%. And if you add the other ones to it, there are over 8 million mortgages that are below that number. I mean, it's insane. Nobody's moving. And y'all, if you look at what's happening in the economy, inflation is still up. It's creeping back up again. Interest rates are not coming down anytime soon. Right? Now, historically speaking, anytime we've gone to war, they ratchet up the money machine. The money machine is how they print money. They print money by lowering interest rates. Right? So what happens is the Federal Reserve says, United States, I will buy bonds from you So I'm going to print this money and give it to you. When they do that, that lowers interest rates. The challenge with that is right now, if the Federal Reserve starts going backwards and lowering interest rates, what do you think is going to happen to home prices? Because for the last 18 months, home buyers have been terrified to do anything because interest rates have been so freaking high. So what do you think is going to happen to all that pent-up demand that's sitting on the sidelines? You think prices are high now? You ain't seen nothing yet. Right? And another article, which I didn't pull up, said that homes in the United States are unaffordable in 99% of the counties in the U.S. 99% of the counties in the United States, the people who reside there cannot afford to buy a home in the county that they live in. That is fascinating, right? I know everybody's like, Juan, like, you're doing such a good job of selling things. No. I'm just telling you the truth, right? I'm sharing the data because in every market, things still happen. Here's who's moving right now: death, divorce, illness, relocation. Okay, that's who's moving. There are get-to buyers who are purchasing homes, meaning that they may be boomers, retirees, or business owners, people who have a lot of cash who go, okay, I don't care what the interest rates are. That doesn't affect me at all. It's a great time to buy. I get to make a decision, right? They are moving. But as you saw, that number was down 20% cash buyers, right? So I just wanted to share these numbers with y'all so you can kind of wrap your mind around it. Housing costs are higher than ever because of the 1-2 punch of sky-high mortgage rates and rising home prices. Mortgage rates have climbed even higher since then, hitting 5.75%. And I showed you today's close, which is 7.92%, right? During the week of October 12th to the highest level in over 2 decades. The typical U.S. home sold for $420,000, up 3% from last August. Whew, y'all. I mean, it's a bloodbath out there. So let's run some numbers. Okay. First of all, let's get to the tribe out here. And y'all, thank you so much for being patient and hanging out with us. We are going to get into these numbers really quick. So let me share that. I'm going to jump in and we're actually going to run the mortgage calculator right now so people just can kind of wrap their mind around what's happening here. Get into the share screen. Perfect. All right, there we go. We're back. And we're back. Okay. On the left side here is where I want you to focus on. These numbers on the left side. I know it's a little bit smaller, but I'll walk you through them really quick. I put in here that average, the median sales price that Redfin talked about in this article, $420,000. I ran the scenario. We're going to put 10% down because that's about average of what we see. All right, I think that number is going to continue to get lower, but for the last 3 years, we've seen an average of 10% down. So it's a $420 purchase, putting $42,000 down. They're taking a 30-year fixed rate at today's rate, which was 7.92%. Okay, and there's ways to lower your interest rates. We're going to talk about that, but I want to make sure that I share this with you. The property taxes are $5,250. That's probably fair, depending on where you live. And then the homeowner's insurance, Google is taking an average and putting this at $1,470. If you are moving into the greater Tampa Bay area, that number will not be $1,470. Okay, I just want to let me prepare you for it now. Like Melissa said earlier, right? They ask about alligators, hurricanes, and insurance. That's the 3 questions that people ask, right? So it used to be bugs, but the bug conversation went away, and now it's strictly insurance. That's where people are at with that. All right. You're going to pay at least $2,500. That's what I pay. I got a great deal, but expect to pay that. All right. Your private mortgage insurance is $143. $173. That puts your mortgage payment at $3,487. That's a $3,500 mortgage payment for the median home in the United States. All right. Now, if you want to come to Tampa, like we said, on average, this is what we're seeing. Yes, we can get you deals better, but we're just sharing the average of what we looked at tonight. Okay. If you want to buy the average home here in Tampa, which is $525,000 at today's interest rates, that's going to be roughly $4,300. 2 years ago, I could get you $1 million home for that same number, which is nuts. This is why things have changed so dramatically. So dramatic. I mean, it's insane. Melissa Parrish says at least 2,500. Absolutely. And that's in she's referring to insurance. Melissa's in insurance. If you need insurance, shout out. We'll make the connection. But if you need homeowners insurance, you know, the best place to move to, and again, reach out to the team. If you're looking at, you can still get good insurance rates here. Non-flood, non-evacuation zone, and a newer home that is built to today's standards is going to get you the premium insurance rates. They're going to get you the best rates. If you're expecting to move on the Gulf Coast and buy a big fancy Gulf Coast home, you may not be insurable at all. And if you are, buckle up. It's going to cost you a car. I'm not kidding. Right? These insurance rates are insane. Okay, so just be mindful of this as you think through it. So keep that in perspective. Sharing the numbers with y'all. This is real life. Now I want to get into the actual last 30 days here in Tampa. This is going to be small, but I'm going to got to do it. All right. So here it is. We got our median on our sales, our average. Here's what I want y'all to keep track of. This is what's going on. The last 30 days in the greater Tampa Bay area, the median, the average home sales price was a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,939 square feet. I want you to think about that. 1,939 square feet. The closed price was $532,204. That home had an average day on market for 32, and they closed at 35 days. The average sales price to list price was 0.98%. So the sellers receive 98% of their asking price. So if you're coming here and you're thinking, I can throw these 2008 offers at people, you ain't got your head on straight. It ain't happening. Right? Can you find it? For sure. Right? But not anything that you're not going to have to spend a ton of money fixing. And last but not least, I didn't pull the slide. Tampa has the second highest inflation in the United States currently. We're at 6.7% still. Let me see if I can find that, because I hate just spewing numbers. Tampa. I read that and I was like, "What? That's not nice. I'm not a fan of that." And I'm tired of paying these stupid high prices, and the numbers, like groceries, are insane. And like, you just can't. It just doesn't stop, right? Tampa leads country in inflation despite nationwide low, and I don't know what low they're talking about. Who is getting a low inflation rate? Can you put that in the chat? Talk about if it bleeds, it leads. That's how they roll here, right? Tampa St. Petersburg Clearwater Consumer Pricing Index, which is measured for inflation of 7.3%. for the year ended in May. That's what it said. All right, so this isn't the most recent one. I saw the most recent one, forgive me, y'all. It was 6.7%. That's what it came in. This is going to make me nuts. July. There it is. Remains above the national average. Where's my number? 5.9%. In Tampa Bay, it was 6.3 this month. This is from last month too. So again, live television, you get yourself in trouble. The point is, we still have super high inflation here in Tampa. And again, I know everybody's like, my team is on this call with me right now. They're like, Juan, you're not helping our cause. But here's what we want you all to know. You can trust us. We're not here trying to make sales, right? Is this how we feed our families? Absolutely. But here's what we want and need you to know. You need to make the best decision for your family. And the only way to do that is by having qualified information to help you make qualified decisions. You've seen multiple people jump on this live today and say, I'm closing at 7.3%. It was worth it because I get to take my dream, right? Glad I made the decision right here. So here's an example, right? We're closing with 3.7% soon. I think I'll be motivated to pay it off faster, but the lifestyle is worth the fee. Okay. That is not for everyone. And I understand that. And I'm not in here preaching that. I'm not a prosperity gospel guy. That's not my thing. But if you can afford it and it makes sense to you and your lifestyle and your family, make the decision. And I share that with you because listen, y'all, real estate is cyclical, but I've shared the historical chart over and over and over again. You don't know anyone. I want you to think back to 2013. The real estate market peaked in 2006. It crashed in 2008-9. It was at its absolute rock bottom in 2012. And I know that's because that's when I started selling real estate. But I remember when real estate started to grow again in 2013 and how many people were running around saying, you guys are out of your mind for buying real estate at those prices, because it was up like 4% or 7%. It started growing again. And they were like, you're out of your mind. Didn't you just see what happened? Do you know anyone who bought a house in 2013 who did not do a happy dance as they closed over the last 3 years, as they strolled into their dream home for the same exact mortgage payment or maybe a little bit more, but in a house or a location that they never dreamed that they would have? You don't know anyone who didn't have that happen to them. And if you go back 20 years, the person who bought the home 20 years, it has changed their life. It may have changed their family's future. Go back 30 years, it's unbelievable. All right, those people who don't have mortgages on those houses right now, when they decide to cash out or they head off to the pearly gates and leave that to their family, someone's throwing a party because kids are going to college. Weddings are being paid for, right? Stacey, like the magic is going to happen in someone's life. Hopefully they reinvest it, but like, this is how real estate works. And yes, do I sound passionate about it? I am, because here's what I know. Home ownership is getting more and more difficult. I sat here and said in 99% of this country, people cannot afford to buy a home where they live. They are trying to make you a nation of renters, y'all. This is not going to get better. It's going to get worse. Inflation is not going anywhere, it's going back up. If they lower the interest rates, houses are not going to get less expensive. They're going to get so much more expensive, and people already can't afford them, but just magically people keep showing up with this money. And I shared this before. Florida is attracting more income earners that make over $200,000 a year than any state in the United States, in the entire country. Our taxes are low. Our weather is good. If you cash out a home in California, you're laughing at our taxes. You're laughing at our home prices, even at where they are today. But if you grew up in Tampa Bay, you are getting your behind handed to you. This is the tale of two worlds that we live in right now. This is our story in this country. It's not changing. And I'm not going to go tangent. Trust me, I'd love to go nuts. Right? I would love to go nuts on this, but I'm not going to. Here's what I want and need you to know. You can continue to pay $20,000, $30,000 a year in rent and get nothing for it. Or you can buy a home because it makes sense for you and your family to own something. There is a cost of ownership. I'm not naive to that. All right. But you also have the opportunity to write off your interest. There are a lot of things you can do. If you have good income and you can afford the house, buy the house. I'm not telling you to overpay. I'm not telling you to buy something you can't afford. That's not what we're saying. But if this is your dream, how much longer are you going to wait for it to happen? All right. So if you want to talk deeper, obviously I'm a numbers guy. If you want to get deeper into this, do not hesitate to reach out to me and the ladies. We would love to have a conversation. I know I've sucked up a ton of their time tonight, but here's the good thing to know. They are ready for next week. They are ready to rock and roll. And speaking of next week, we are going to be off next Tuesday. We're going to be off next Tuesday because we're all getting together and we're making videos as a team. So we're not going to have a live next Tuesday, so forgive us. So the following week, the ladies will be completely prepared. They're ready to rock and roll. And I'm going to let them dig in with the audience here right now a little bit too. But I want to be respectful of everyone's time. Let me get into some more of these comments. Melissa says, PSA, public service announcement for the slow people like me. This is the real estate team to work with. Oh, okay. 100%. Marcia helped me so much with my purchase. If it wasn't for her and my persistent attitude, I would have gotten some money back from the seller. So that's great. So she was able to get some concessions back from the seller for the plumbing problem she had. But yes, Marcia helped her and Jason buy a home here, move from Mississippi to Clearwater, and we're so excited to have them. And thank you for trusting us. She wrote Marcia a lovely review. So thank you for that, Melissa. We appreciate that. And ladies, forgive me for not digging in all the wonderful information you had. you know me when it comes to the numbers thing. I want to dig into it, but I want to share this passionately and openly because it's so hard right now for so many people, right? I know that we're blessed, right? But I've also worked to get to that point. I don't feel ashamed of working hard to have the success because I ate government cheese as a child. And me and my wife lived in a lot of crappy apartments when we got together to make this dream a reality. We gave up a lot of things to be able to buy our home. And that is a lot of people's story. And it changes their life. And I'm so passionate about home ownership because if you stay in that thing for 5 years, it's going to change your life. If you stay in it for 10, it can do some incredible things for you. Right. And both of these ladies have owned homes for a lot longer than I have. I bought my first house when I was 24. And I felt blessed to do it. That was in 2004, almost the worst time ever, by the way. I had a 10% interest rate then. All right. It was a 10.25% interest rate then on a $130,000 house, not $420,000. But to me, that felt like monumental. So I know what that can feel like. Right. I know what that can feel like. But ladies, I know I gave them a ton of info and I shared some information that probably makes people a little uncomfortable, but we need to help you guys understand how it works here, right? How it works everywhere in the United States. Now, if you're considering moving to the greater Tampa Bay area, reach out. All of our contact information is listed down below. I'll put all the links to all the resources we had today. If you're considering moving anywhere else in the country, we have a huge network of referral partners because of YouTube and because of our network. So wherever that is, if you need counsel on selling your home, we'll find an agent that we trust. We'll do the vetting for you, right? Run them through our systems and processes to make sure that they're somebody, if we don't know that person, or if you just like perspective, or if you need a buyer's agent to help you execute, we can help you with that as well. So happy to do that. Ladies, what do you want to send the audience out with tonight? The floor is yours. The mic is yours. A lot of info, but if you had to help people, because again, you're working this marketplace right now, right?
We talk. What I would like to say is we're always trying to come up with creative ways to make it happen still. And I think a lot of these ideas are going to keep growing. I know, like I was talking about, we were at that open house this weekend, and I know a few of the families came in, were looking for a house because their adult children moved back in with them because they can't afford to buy a house. They can't afford rent. I went through that with my own daughter, and she lived with us for 1.5 years and saved up money. So we try to come up with ideas. She bought a house and rents half of it out. So that's an idea. If that would get you into a house and make it affordable for you, that's like a new concept. You know, Airbnbs were new a few years ago, and now we're having to come up with new ways to be able to afford what we want. So that's option. For the families who adult children are moving back in, charge them some rent if you need to. You know, they just enough that will help with the bills anyways. They're still living there a lot cheaper than renting or purchasing. We're just going to have to come up with new ideas to make these things happen.
Yeah, I think that's why it's so important that when we do meet and we talk about what your goals are, is that we really find out, you know, what your issues are so we can help you find a solution.
Really, yeah.
Absolutely. And last but not least, y'all, new construction is a great way to go right now. And we'll get into a little bit more of this as this comes up, but like these builders are throwing great deals our way. The prices aren't being dramatically reduced. In some places they are. So you're going to see that, like, just keep it in mind. It's going to depend on the community, the area, any area that was marginal, that's going to get beat up right now. But the desirable areas, because the prices are holding up, the builders don't have to go down there. They are giving some breaks. So I just want to get that in perspective. But where they're really making deals happen, I got an email today with a 4.75% interest rate if you buy this specific house from the builder. I just showed you a 7.92, which means that's the best rate, which means that they're really over 8%. A 4.75, that's a whole different world. You're talking about hundreds, if not over $1,000 off a payment at that rate. Okay, so like keep that in perspective. Get with these ladies are working hard today. They were working on a spreadsheet with all of the builders, all of our building partners, because we have relationships with these sales, with the sales teams. They're working on every single builder we have in our marketplace and the incentives that they're offering right now. If you guys are interested and want access to that information, reach out to our team. We have it at our fingertips. Every single Monday, they are committed to connecting with the building teams and updating that information. So you will know exactly where the incentives are when you reach out to us. And the reason we say Monday is because most of the building teams meet every Monday. All right. And then they come out of their meetings and they say, these are the properties we need. And let's be real, they're a sales team, right? So the builder says, I need you to move these properties. Make it happen. And they go work deals and they pick up the phone and they start calling agents that have hot buyers, right? People that need to move or are looking for that specific product. And they start reaching out to our team. We do this on purpose so we can help you make a great decision and a good purchase. All right. So we want to make sure that you know that you have access to that. So if that interests you, new construction, which I would encourage you to do, because again, the cost of ownership on a new construction is extremely low compared to a resale at this point. All right. So keep that in mind. Keep that in perspective. We got another comment here. I want to jump in. Ellie says, I'm interested in relocating to Tampa from LA. I've been looking for something that I can live in and rent out, a guest house or a smaller multifamily, want a safe area for a single female. Okay. Ellie, reach out to us and the team. Be happy to have that conversation with you. House hacking, St. Pete does have ADUs. So that if that area interests you, it's a great city too, by the way. St. Pete is amazing. But there's also other options as well. So reach out to us. All the contact information is down below. Be more than happy to do that. There's even a link to my calendar, y'all. So you can schedule time that's most convenient for you. So don't lose sight of that. But if you want to reach out to Stacy directly, it's you can connect with her on Instagram. That's at stacy.amon.realtor. And then if you want to connect with Marsha, that is at Marsha Railton, same thing. And then for me, if you want to reach out to my DMs on Instagram, it is juan.alcala.realtor. You can connect with all of us there. Bear with us. I check my spam box probably once a week. A lot of the times, if we're not connected, they'll go there. So forgive me, but I will respond. The ladies will too. Any final words, ladies, as we say good evening?
Just don't be afraid to reach out to us and talk to us. We're here to help you and come up with ideas on how you can make your dream come true.
Awesome. I love that. And you know what? I'm going to talk to the ladies, but I think what we might end up doing through this stretch of Lord knows how long is maybe we take those new construction updates and we bring them as a live during the week. So let me talk to them. I didn't mean to put them on a hook. But we're doing the work already, y'all. We want you to have access to that. So, but in the meanwhile, reach out to us and the team. We have there are some good deals out there right now. Okay, some good deals to be had. So reach out to us and the team. From myself and the team here, we just want to say have a great evening. God bless and go out and live that Tampa life. We'll see you on the flip side, y'all.